I had worked since I was 6 years old. Started out selling Christmas cards and garden seeds. Learned the hard way not to get into seasonal businesses. I went to college, went to the Naval Academy, and stayed in the Navy for 4 years and got great leadership training. A guest of the Secretary of the Navy from IBM came on the ship and said, "The captain told me you're leaving the Navy. Would you like to have an interview with IBM?" I looked him squarely in the eye and I said, "Mister, I started work when I was 6 years old. Nobody has ever offered me a job in my life. You bet I'd like to have a job with your company, and I don't even know what you do." While I was at IBM, it became apparent to me that people wanted computers, but they really didn't know how to use them. And it occurred to me that what was really needed was to sell a finished product. And I took that idea to IBM, and they weren't interested in it, and I just felt like I had to try it. And the thing that was decisive in my decision was I was sitting in a barbershop reading Reader's Digest magazine, waiting to get a haircut, and there was a quote from Thoreau that said, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." And that's when I made the decision that I had to try it. I had sold a 7070 computer to Southwestern Life, and they had 2 shifts of unused time. I went to them and asked them if they would let me sell their unused time. I made 77 sales calls and didn't sell anything. On the 78th sales call in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, I sold Collins Radio, and they came to Dallas for a couple of months with plane loads of tape, plane loads of people, and used all of the unused time. And when the dust cleared and they had finished their big project, I had $100,000 in the bank, and I was able to then start hiring people. The unique request to do it came from the wife of a POW who brought her little boy, his picture's right over here, in my office and said, "This little boy doesn't know whether his dad's dead or alive." And she told me all about the POW issue, and then I went to the Defense Department and the White House and discussed all of this and offered to help in any way I could. So it was an honor to be a part of it and an honor to help. And so I guess that's why the Vietnamese changed the treatment. They saw the American people suddenly, instead of being all split apart, were deeply concerned about these men. Anytime we have veterans, I get calls from colonels and generals and admirals and senior people all the time about enlisted men who have terrible wounds. And we have I fund medical research. We have some of the finest doctors in the world work on them. And the work they do is just incredible in terms of giving these people another life. War on drugs, I was asked to do that by the governor. The reason I got involved with it is that if you look and see what drugs do to people's bodies, these terrible drugs, and the saddest thing is, let's say a teenage woman using them before she's married can cause permanent genetic damage in her newborn babies, and that will come a few years later. In every possible way, we want to try to educate the people, and particularly the young people in the state, not to destroy themselves. Our nation's public school system is at the bottom of the industrialized world. And Texas, the great state of Texas, is ranked 42nd out of the 50 states. So we're sort of at the bottom of the bottom. I guess the good news is there's no place to go but up, but I'm still working on this all the time because it will determine the future of our country. I was asked again and again and again and again to come up with an updated set of charts. I had those during the election, but that was a long time ago, and people were asking me for it, and what better way to do it than on the internet? Today, our great country is at a critical turning point. The real thing we have to deal with is putting our country back on a sound financial basis, and we, the people, need to be fully informed and fully supportive of getting that done, as opposed to begging for something free for the government.